What a beautiful show so far, and so much more to come. And I know you've got you ready to introduce Karen.
Well, it's really perfect that Karen is coming on now following that song and what Joanna said about her friend, because she opened up to her mediumship and psychic abilities after her partner died. And she wrote this book, Till Death Don't Us Part. And she realized that we're never apart from those because in a way it's love. So isn't it perfect, Karen, that you're here
Mm,
following all that? And she was
yeah.
also a trained medium at Arthur Findlay College. But what do you think of that past and the song and what we've just heard? Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's not even, you can actually relate to it without even listening to the words, just the sort of whole vibration of it, just sort of beautiful, really beautiful. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Because it was love that connected you to your partner, and that,
Mm.
and you discovered that that doesn't go anywhere. That doesn't die.
No, yeah. Well, and I think it's one of the things that really all of my work is sort of centered around. As Alan knows, I was actually a war correspondent and a political correspondent. I was in Iraq, and when my partner died suddenly, and all of a sudden, all of the sort of paranormal activities, the burning bushes started happening to sort of wake me up to that. That particular reality. I mean, I did have those instances as a child, but I really kind of lost interest in them coming into the teens, as you do. And this sort of came back, sort of full blast. And yeah, I spent, and one of the things I love about Alan, and I'm really happy you asked me to come along, is my background was in Zen, which, as you know, is non-theistic, but it's very simple. And so I have, even though I'm trained in the spiritualist tradition and mediumship, still have a very simple, the simplest approach possible to these things. There's no need to be complicating them at all. And I think there's immense amount of healing in that when we realize that what makes all of this, that this sort of energy that we call love, which sounds all very sort of new agey, but the truth of the fact is that's the energy and that's the vibration that makes all of this communication happen. So that's really important. It's a beautiful song as well. Yeah.
Well, talk about your work as a medium and how you work, and how maybe other people can access those realms too.
Well, the first thing, as you know, is I come from a very non-superstitious, very sort of, if it doesn't make sense to me, it I can't get on board. It's got to be really, really simple. I am a firm believer in, I kind of, all my approach is very much colored by Zen, and so I really sort of think in these ways where, from my own personal experience of having this ongoing relationship with my partner, to really challenging, and I wrote about this, as you know, in my book, really sort of challenging outworn ideas that don't belong in the 21st century. I think it's really important, and I love this work, this idea of we really need to awaken to where we are now in history, not be hanging on to these concepts and this language that stems from the classical era or stems from biblical times or stems from the medieval era. We need to really move on. We've made so much progress in the last century in terms of understanding, beginning to understand that sort of nature of reality. And in terms of consciousness theory, that it's time. Really, for me, we really need to start thinking in these ways. We need to start thinking in these understandings that this is the illusion, and that everything else is in this sort of unified stream of consciousness that continues and that is multidimensional. And therefore, we are multidimensional. Because I hear people all the time and they think, oh, when I die, I go to eternity. And I'm like, no, this is eternity. It's already here. And infinity is already here. I think when we start thinking of these terms of that, almost like I was explaining this to somebody today, if we think in terms of the mind or the brain as an antenna that's just tuning in the different, all of the thought, all of the telepathy, all of the thought, all of the being that exists in this all-pervasive consciousness, we can sort of start to see that all we're doing is tuning a knob and moving our focus, you know. So I was talking to somebody today whose husband transitioned recently, and she's starting to feel his presence. But along with that, she's hearing bumps in the attic, and so now she's sort of gone into this very medieval concept of like, oh, I'm sensing him, but what it's doing is it's opened the door to hauntings. And I'm like, no, what you've done is you're just learning to tune the knob of your radio. And it's like you go anywhere in New York City, you hear snippets of conversations, you hear all of this stuff around you. We just tune it out. We learn to tune it out. And this is all she needs to learn to do. You just tune that out and just shift your focus to where you need it to be. To me, it's that simple. And I feel that, you know, so when I'm working mediumistically, I just get on with my day. I'm doing a PhD, as you know now. I just get on with my day. And when I have to sit down to work, I just move into an altered state, shift my focus so that my focus completely on that person's loved one and what they need to say. And then when that's done, it's thank you very much. I hope it's been helpful. And then back to my day. It's all about, and this is very Zen, just about moving your focus. And that focus is what allows you to bring that your reality into focus and move forward. But I'm really an advocate of seeing things that simply, because I think there's a huge amount of healing power in that. Because it takes away all of this fear. You know, it takes away all of this medieval and classical and biblical fear and brings us into an understanding of reality as multidimensional. And of us, even though we are incarnate, we are still multidimensional beings. You know, and like Ramana Maharshi says, you know, who sees when you see? And to me, that's a great reminder that we kind of think, oh, well, if I'm aware that, you know, but there is another being, there is another part of us that is even beyond the awareness of what we're thinking. Who sees what I see? Which is a beautiful way even to get through life. We get caught up in things. Who is it that is seeing that agitation? It's the eternal being. The eternal being that is still present among us, and that has this ability to be able to turn the dial to attune to all of the other eternal beings, whether they're incarnate or discarnate. That's where the power for me of the healing power of mediumship comes from.
Beautiful, beautiful. And any questions from you, Scott, or
Yeah. Well, I noticed that there are a few questions that came in. You know, one of the people, I think maybe what we may want to do is clarify when you said we're already in eternity. And one of our people said, oh my God, I don't want this to be eternity. Yeah, that this current moment of humanity, which is not humanity at its best. Imagining it, I interpreted what you meant was, we are multidimensional beings, and we already are existing simultaneously in the astral plane, or you can call it heaven. We're already, it's all happening already. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, and also eternity is not static, you know, so things change. I mean, when I work with people when people come and I'm communicating with their loved ones, sometimes people come, I only let people come like every 6 months or so, because I give them time, you know. But I can see over time how a loved one that, say, was an addict who had a terrible, you know, or somebody who was very abusive, or somebody who was very injured or carried a huge amount of shame, or all of these things. I work, because I'm a writer, I work very, very deeply with character as well, you know, so I really try to get away from just keep people a list of facts, to really start getting into these profound depths of healing. And when somebody moves out of the bag of bones and into their natural state, which is the spirit's still state, it is possible to start to see how they are continuing to grow and heal. So even if you think that's not static. We don't just die and go and sprout wings and sit on a cloud for all eternity either. There still is growth, and there still is healing, and there still is work to be done. You know, so we're not going to have the politics or the eco problems or stuff like that. But it is a non-static, constantly evolving state that continues. And that's what I mean also about already in eternity. It's always a fluctuating, ongoing state of growth and healing for all of us. And we're here, I do feel, for a reason, which is why whatever we have come from our natural form, which is our spirit form, into this incarnation for a reason, and we'll go back again. So it's part of the stream of eternity. If that makes it, that's less scary.
Thank you. Perfect.
I think that's a great point, Scott. That eternity is not static, because what we're actually experiencing in this moment is not static either. There's this flow that is eternal and not static.
You know, an interesting story, which I'd love to get Karen's input on, and then we'll move forward. But a good friend of mine, her grandfather, as a human being, was a really horrible human being. He blew through the family fortune. He was a cocaine addict. He committed suicide and blamed it on, you know, a family member. I mean, just a really, really, really horrible life. And she went to a psychic, and the psychic said, you know, your grandfather is now your guardian angel. And at first, my friend was like, oh my God, that's the last person I want as my guardian angel. The psychic said, no, he is in such remorse as he now has looked at his human life. And the psychic helped her to understand that when we die, we lose our body, obviously. We also lose the personality. We also lose the part of ourself that may have been psychotic or, you know, deeply troubled. And as time has gone by, my friend has actually made peace with her grandfather as her guardian angel, who is going through wanting to heal the family lineage that he had such a negative influence on. Have you seen situations?
Yeah, but I will say with that I do find that while we don't have genetic things that come with us, you know, as we know, say with trauma, it gets stored in the nervous system. You know, it's the same thing with addicts. We don't take the addiction to the next form, but we take the wound that we were medicating because that needs to be healed. And so I find that initially when people pass over for the first few years, their personality is very, very similar, and over time that starts to heal. So I think in the case of somebody like her grandfather, which is very common, we have to remember that happy people don't hurt. Hurt people hurt.
Yes.
And so often, as you pointed out, that hurt can be passed down through generations. And so we are being born into these dysfunctional systems that are creating wounded people that in turn only know how to go wound other people. And so I do feel that, and I see this a lot with trauma, it seems almost easier to heal the trauma in spirit form than it is here, for a whole host of reasons which we don't have time to go into. But that over time, that person will heal, will advance, will grow, and then will likely want to make amends.
Yeah, beautifully put. And it's important for us all to just open our minds to how different things are from just our own human realm. And you're doing a beautiful job of helping us to see that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it's helpful.
You're very helpful. You know, for more information on Karen, her website is also her name, Karen Frances McCarthy. I love that. It brings out, Karen Frances McCarthy. And so everybody always put in your email address so that we can stay in touch with our friends like Karen. And I love that, healing the heart through mediumship. And you are available for coaching for people who want.
Yeah, I do a lot. I do private sessions, obviously, for the bereaved as well. Actually, there's an interview with Ellen on there somewhere as well, because Ellen and I talked on New Realities about my book when it came out as well. Yeah, I do private sessions, obviously, for the bereaved, and I do soul assessments for people wanting to some like very, very deep, profound guidance for their soul's path. But I also do a lot of teaching, and I think we've talked about that before. So I'm teaching an advanced mediumship course for mediumship students in a couple of weeks. But I'm also introducing, I'm really excited about this, I'm introducing a new course that's for bereaved people who want to learn how to maintain relationships with their loved ones in a healthy way. Because there really isn't, I realized, anyone to help them, except like a lot of sort of hearsay and rumor. So I've designed this course, this one here, Afterlife Communication there, to help those. So I'm really excited about that. And then this is the first of a series of mediumship courses as well I'm teaching. And I do some private mentoring for people who don't want to get into courses or need a little bit of extra help. So that's there as well. Oh, and I would say, and I know we talked about this the last time, if anybody would like to join my community there, it's free. And there's a whole host of talks and lectures and workshop recordings and free meditations and all sorts of stuff in there. You can ask questions that I actually answer on these little short videos on YouTube as well every month. So a whole bunch of stuff there. It's just to try to make a lot of resources and a lot of recommended reading available to people so that we've got some. You know, I was very fortunate to be trained by some of the greats like Glyn Edwards and Mavis Patilla. I mean, these just phenomenal mediums who are in the spirit form themselves now. But I kind of feel I'd love to be able to sort of pass on the teachings of that lineage, and then I kind of mix in a little bit of my own sort of Zen presence about being present into that. So I think it's important to also be able to make these offerings to people who just are starting maybe out on their journey. Just sort of, you know, curious. So there's a whole lot of, including Alan's interview, there's a whole lot of resources there that people can access for free. So anybody who would like to do that, please do come along.
Thank you so much. That's very generous. And boy, as I kind of scroll through your website, I was very impressed with how much you're offering and providing, Karen. So thank you so much. Now,
thank you.
You're not going to be with us for the roundtable.
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast and I have an early start, so I thought I might not be able to stay if we run late. So I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for being with us again. And you've been with us before, and I really hope you'll be with us again soon.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, thank you. You know, Scott, what's amazing about all these people that presented is how human, psychic, all that. It's not this occult thing like it was 100 years ago. It's so much more loving and open-hearted. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from the show.